cocaine. Before you slip into unconsciousness, I'd like to have another kiss, another flashing chance at bliss, another kiss, another kiss. The days are bright and filled with pain. I was alone, I took a ride, I didn't know what I would find there.
A convoy arrives in Washington, D.C. at the end of a 13-state U.S. tour. On board, a poet whose innocent son was killed by a drugs cartel in Mexico. He calls the U.S. and Mexico government's war on drugs a failure.
70,000 people have lost their lives in this war. 20,000 people have vanished. 250,000 have been displaced. This war has done more damage to our people than addiction itself.
Also traveling with the Caravan for Peace, Teresa Carmona, whose son Joaquim was killed in Mexico City. That's all she knows, because the police will only say he was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
There is no investigation whatsoever, you know. After 25 months, I'm still hoping that Joaquin receives justice.
There's been a war on drugs since the 1970s, when President Richard Nixon was the first to coin the phrase. The first national policy chief, the so-called drug czar, was appointed in the early 80s by Ronald Reagan. The U.S. is committing $25 billion to the war on drugs in 2012, but evidence suggests over the past 30 years, demand for drugs has boosted supply, driven down prices, and sparked armed conflict among drugs gangs in the U.S. and especially Mexico, where cartels now control 90% of all the illicit drugs entering the U.S. It's a federal policy that encompasses more than just drugs. Gun smuggling, money laundering, and immigration are all involved. Some people say the policy is on autopilot.
Nobody is making decisions about this. U.S. attorneys continue to prosecute large numbers of people for quite minor participation in drug importing.
At the Caravan, they're in favor of legalizing drugs and regulating their distribution, just like alcohol.
I don't think it's a tall order at all. It's just getting the information to the people so that they can make our leaders, our politicians, change our policies.
That's unlikely to be anytime soon. The issue of drugs hasn't so far cropped up in this year's presidential election campaign. John Terrett, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Beautiful friend, this is the end.